Hey there everybody, it's Argo here with my very first YouTube content video. Pretty nervous, deep breath needed I think really before we, before we go ahead. Thank you for joining me. I have for you today a beginning of a epic tale. I'm doing things a little bit differently to get things started on my channel, self-titled Argo. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoy the video and you would like to see more going forward. Every little bit of support and help obviously with a brand new channel is every bit appreciated. So yeah, looking forward to having you guys with me in the future. But yeah, I'm doing things a little bit differently to get things started. A lot of people on YouTube, they might post, fairly random custom battles and such things, which are great, but I kind of thought I would take some of the experiences that I've had with various campaigns that I've played and have recorded the battles of, or some of the most epic or game-changing moments of those campaigns. And, well, I've been running on Rome 2, as you can see, a DEI campaign, Divide et Impera, which has been ongoing for about the last 8 to 9 months, which I've been really enjoying. I get very immersed into my campaigns. I don't rush through them at all. Take lots of time, lots of careful management, and composing of the armies and everything. So I like to really get immersed into the experience. So I really enjoy doing very cinematic battles, lots of cinematic camera work. So yeah, just to give you a few ideas of what to expect. So here I have my Rome 2 campaign that I've been doing with the Romans. This here is a battle that occurred, if I remember, it was in about the year 250 BC, around that sort of region. The story was I was launching a campaign against the city of Massalia and into southern Gaul, with a number of legions going in that direction to take on the Massalians and the Averni and other Gaulic tribes, as many of you from Rome 2 experiencing in the campaign will know of. So I was pretty much taken up with them. However, I had a small army still based in Medhlan, the major city or settlement that is just in the central southern Alps, in the province of Liguria, which I had a small force of, primarily consisting of a lot of auxiliary troops, Ligurian convert troops almost, if you like, having joined the ranks of the Romans. So in case you're not familiar with DEI, it's a mod that is an absolutely amazing mod for Rome 2. It completely reinvents the campaign for Rome 2, the Grand Campaign and other campaigns within the game as well. It just does a number of campaign mechanic changes and improvements, frankly. Adds a lot of new units to the various army compositions, graphical tweaks, such things. It's a really great experience. Makes it a much more immersive experience, which is exactly what I go for with my Total War games. So, I have a number of those new units here. We have a number of Ligurian auxiliaries even, as well as some Ligurian tribesmen as well, who have formed up with the Roman force that is still left in Medhlan to help face this threat that they're facing today from the Tulingi. Now, as I say, these guys are from Medhlan. They were my rear guard almost on my campaign. Whilst things, I'm just going to get things started here actually, so I take a little bit of time to compose my formation. Stirring speech from the general, why not? Yeah, that'll get them going. So yeah, these guys were my rear guard, as the Tulingi were a bit of a threat. I've been at war with them before. They're a tribe in the Northern Alps, sort of Gaulic Germanic tribe, who caused me a lot of problems. They tried to invade Rome a few times, I forced them back, etc. However, they decided to jump when my legions were off fighting in Southern Gaul. So I dispatched a few troops from well, what troops I had in Medhlan, which was this army here. A few legionaries, as I say, auxiliary troops and tribesmen, composed with the garrison of Medhlan, which you see arriving right now in their full glory. A lot of citizen troops here with limited armor, limited training, limited quality of weaponry, but certainly in numbers. And I had a bit of a kind of stiff upper lip kind of Roman supremacist view to this at the time of the campaign, of thinking, yeah, we'll be able to handle the Tulingi. It'll be okay. They're good warriors for sure, but we'll be fine, I'm sure. So I gathered my army, ready to take them on. So as you can see, the battlefield, we can't see the Tulingi at the moment, but it's quite a hilly terrain, just on the lower end of the Alps here. You see them in the distance. This is on the way to Coria, the settlement of Coria there, which I was jostling with the Tulingi over for some time, and it's still in Tulingi hands at this moment in my alternate version of history. So I'm just going to speed things up a little bit while I get everybody kind of into formation. To tell you just a little bit about myself while these guys are forming up, I've, as I say, just started a brand new channel, the Argo channel. It's going to focus mostly on Total War games, as well as a lot of historical-based games. There'll be strategy and some RPG games. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan as well, so I hope to get some videos up of the Assassin's Creed games in the future too. And of course, many more Total War videos as we go on. I'll mix things up occasionally with some sci-fi, and maybe a bit of sport, but mainly it's going to be a pretty historical-based channel. So if that sounds like your bag, or you're enjoying this video, as I say, then by all means, please do like and subscribe. Okay, so I think we're more or less in formation now. This is just running the replay of the battle that I fought, so I'm not trying to adjust anything here. This is genuinely what happened. Victory here obviously would have meant the Tulingi were pushed back, and the threat was lifted from any threat into northern Italy. Bearing in mind, if this army was to fail, the route into northern Italy would be wide open. So I was kind of risking quite a bit. So anyway, I sent forward my scouts to check out the try and find the Tulingi positions, and these guys over here were able to find them. They were still in the woods over this way. So yeah, they were pretty well equipped, as it turns out. They were pretty decent warriors. Pretty well hidden though, still keeping the bulk of their numbers concealed in the forest, but also moving gradually into position. So, knowing what was going on, I started to pull my other scouts round to this side to see if I could get a better view on them. I'm just going to speed things up a little more. I did kind of leave these guys a little vulnerable to anything coming out of this woodland, I must admit, but I was keeping an eye in case anybody appeared, deciding to pull them back now. They've seen enough. It's pretty obvious where the army is generally located. These guys here are the front row seat. So yeah, Rome 2, I must admit, since the DEI mod was released for Rome 2, some time ago now, a huge shout out, by the way, to those guys for making this mod. It's absolutely incredible. I've had many, many hours of enjoyment across Rome 2, particularly since the DEI mod was released. I'm a huge fan of the Total War games anyway. I've amassed, admittedly, thousands of hours on the Total War catalogue over the years, ever since the very first Shogun. And kind of out of the COVID crisis was convinced to start up my channel. Sadly, I work for an industry that's been suffering rather badly through the whole thing, so not that I'm by any means earning anything from YouTube at this moment in time, but I would certainly love to going forward. So again, every bit of support possible. This is taking a little while to get things started. By all means, guys, feel free to skip ahead if you need to a little bit. I do like to scout out the enemy as best I possibly can before I engage. Okay, so here we go. Starting to move troops forward. Begin by moving my skirmishers up. It was a huge battlefield, as you can see. My aim here, I was looking at obviously the Tulingi line, and then obviously noticing this kind of rise here in the hill, thinking, okay, if I can get to this rise before the Tulingi, because the DEI battle AI is pretty intelligent. I was thinking before they kind of realise it, although they're on a bit of a slope themselves, I wanted to try and take this slope, this higher ground here, in the hope of then making them come to me. So I gradually start moving all my troops forward. Quite sporadic though it was. Oh, let's have a quick look at some more of these units here actually, some of the DEI created units. These are, if I remember, these are some of the Illyrian troops, so they were recruited in Illyria, modern day Croatia. Very, very well designed. And we had a look at some of the Ligurian troops before. There's some Venetian mercenaries here. Come across from another section of the Alps to help fight today. Of course, a number of citizen troops as well. And just a few legionaries who are stationed as guardsmen more than anything else in Medhlan. And yeah, here are some more of my Ligurian troops. So, forming up gradually. But the Tulingi, as I say, were pretty smart. They moved forward before they really gave me much of a chance. And I made a real error in not advancing all my troops in much of a formation. So it all happened pretty quickly. Skirmishers began engaging, and the Tulingi had one word on mind: rush. Rush the Roman lines before they had a chance to really form. And so we were sped into a hasty disarray of a formation to try and meet the sudden attack. The Tulingi almost used the terrain to their advantage, realising I was going for it. They marched forward under the shadow of the hill and charged in just as I was forming up. So we were accelerated into battle. The Tulingi attacking just about every unit they possibly could. A serious hammer hit. So here is my general trying to orchestrate things nearer the front line. As you can see, the front line was kind of scattered. It very, very quickly became a case of throw everything into the mix. The Tulingi very, very quickly reminding me how much of a aggressive and determined faction they are. I should also just mention for the record that I do play all of my Total War games, or those that will allow it at least, with blood and gore turned on, as I believe simply in having a very authentic experience, and not really shying away from too much of that kind of aspect of history, as it is what it is. So, yeah, I tend to keep such effects on during battle. Just a heads up for anyone that may have an issue with that. So yeah, the Tulingi, they made a bit of an effort with some horsemen to try and come around the back and disrupt my attempts to try and salvage a formation as much as they could. I had my town guardsmen here and my Veneti mercenaries forming on my right flank to try and quell the threat of the cavalry, who were doing a lot of withdrawing and cycle charging, really. Hope the volume's okay on the battle for you all. So I was trying to pierce through any gap I could with any troops I could, really. It all became very erratic. Not your typical Roman display. But to be fair, it was a pretty unprofessional and undisciplined Roman army that felt they had the day pretty much won before they even turned up. Lots of vicious melee going on. Let's get a bit of a closer in zoom on some of these brilliantly designed units. Such great detail from the DEI creators. So the Tulingi holding firm, my troops doing what they could, although some of them soon started to feel like this wasn't for them, and a few others starting to feel the pressure. The Tulingi making a lot of ground, as you can see here. They were very quick manoeuvring with their cavalry, cycle charging into all manner of angles of the formations everywhere. A lot of my troops were being very quickly scattered, more troops reinforcing. So I tried doing a similar effect with my cavalry to swing around the flank, knowing that I had to beat them back. Looking at it from more of a strategic perspective, just for a moment, here you can see I did manage to form a bit of a line, although, as you can see, they found it going very, very tough. The Tulingi used the terrain very, very well to effectively create a surprise attack over the brow of the hill. They held on pretty well on their left, even though I was beating them back. But it wasn't enough for the guys more in the centre. They were soon running back for the hills. And then the Tulingi's right flank gradually squeezing in against the rest of my troops. I've managed to get my legionaries in the centre, my best troops by a long way, who are fighting hard. Only a few of them, as I say. I think it was just the one unit I had here, making a good account of themselves. There's still a number of them left at this moment in time. My Ligurian auxiliaries were standing shoulder to shoulder with them. The fighting at the thickest, right in the middle. We were making a few attempts to try and push back the Tulingi forces as much as possible, thinking if we can break their centre, we just might be able to filter in what troops we had left and just break their lines. I was being very, very quickly faced with a choice at this moment in time. Looking over the battlefield, realising that they had a lot of very good troops left, and mine were dwindling fast. Not to mention they were also increasingly growing fewer. These men realising that they were up against more than they could perhaps really handle. And ever more realising it very, very quickly. It was turning into a rout for the Romans. But still I had troops, mostly my more professional ones, fighting on, knowing full well what loss or defeat here would mean, that the route to Medhlan would be well and truly open, and the other provinces in northern Italy and other settlements in Liguria. Skirmishers trying as best they could with the javelins coming in here to impede the Tulingi flank as much as possible, and it was almost starting to work for a while. They didn't appreciate the javelins coming in one bit. But then you know you're in trouble when your more experienced troops start to withdraw. And gradually, of course, the situation went from bad to worse as the troops were beginning to be surrounded. You may have noticed, and as have I had a small unit of cavalry over here that were effectively just sitting out the battle for a while. I think I half forgot about them, to be honest with you. Mind you, the effect they would have had would have been limiting, I'm sure. Now, as it happens, I actually won the battle on my right. You can see there's a few units here that were then freed up. They managed to defeat the Tulingi on this flank. and some of my men were gradually trying to push the Tulingi back. I was also thinking around this kind of time, if I at least inflict as much damage on the Tulingi as possible, then it may just cool them off from the idea of pressing on to the city. And so in which case, I may lose the battle, but kind of win the war. So that became the strategy, if you like. Effectively half sacrificing this army. A great thing about DEI though, adding to the depth of the mod, is that you have of course quite an in-depth population system in the campaign. Therefore, every single one of the citizen troops that I had here, which by the way was around 3,000 or more, came out of that overall population number from the city, and they can take a while to replenish. And of course it can therefore affect your tax income, your overall region wealth, if your population is faltering, or you lose a lot of them following a big battle. So the effect of defeat would be even stronger. As you can see just there, the Tulingi, with their commander pushing forward here, asking his men to make one more big drive against what was left of the Roman forces here, defiantly standing on. Defeat not an option. Refusing to let the door swing open to northern Italy. As you can see, by this point it became very much just a meat grinder, as if it wasn't already. There were no battle lines left. It all became very, very hectic. And if anything, we sort of accumulated most of our forces around this little roll of a hill here. For what was becoming pretty much a last stand. However, as you can see, I had a few units that were left here. Truth be told, I can't remember why I didn't bring these guys into the fight. I'm not sure if I was resting them or what I was thinking at the time, but as the battle was definitely lost, I then started to think more about defending the city from the walls with what troops I had left, as opposed to the idea of staying out in the open field against them and trying to defeat them before they got any further into Roman territory than they already were. And so then started to pull a few units back. Some more Venetian mercenaries here. Venetians even. Fighting on. Just holding off the Tulingi. Every bit earning their money. raining javelins. And they broke, or I pulled them back, I'm not too sure. In the end. But then I pulled back every last remaining Roman soldier I could. Cavalry and all. Every last person. Running back for Medhlan. So what turned out to be a battle that I felt would have been a fairly confident likelihood of victory turned out to be a pretty crushing defeat for the Romans. And the Tulinghi, as you can see, were left with a fair number of troops. So this, in the end, paved the way open to Medhlan and northern Italy for the Tulinghi. What happened next? You'll see in the next video. But one thing I will tell you is straight after this battle was fought, another, I believe, it was 2 armies of Tulinghi turned up out of the Alps following this force in towards northern Italy. It became a huge barbarian invasion, and the bulk of my defensive force had just been eliminated. With a lot of my forces elsewhere, fighting other campaigns in Gaul, and I was still in North Africa at this point too, just finishing off the Carthaginians, it became a huge, huge problem. As I say, check out the next video to see what happened next. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.